Okay, for this screencast, we're going to talk about formatting an essay for 101. You're going to be using this same format for every essay that you'll write for me, both this term and for next term in 102. This is simple MLA formatting. I use Google Docs for just about everything because it's relatively easy, it's user friendly, it's easy to use, it's easy to share and collaborate with others. And the bonus is that you can save it as any format. In switching between computers at home and school, and some of you carry your own devices, so you're just with one device. But I find that Google Docs is the easiest one to work with consecutively. So in Google Docs, when you get ready to start an essay, there are a couple of things that have to go into every document in order for it to be considered appropriate MLA format. Remember, that is one of the areas that you will be kind of um, assessed on. So mastering this format early is important. So the first thing that we're going to start with is our running header, and that takes place up in the header part of the document. If you'll double or click on the header, the top right hand corner, in the top right hand corner, the running header should be your last name and your and you'll insert a page number, and it should start on page 1 so that your pagination runs through page 1. If you scroll down to the next page after you type some, you'll notice that it should throw that same running header at the top of your next page as well, with page number 2 and so on and so forth. So running header should be in Times New Roman 12-point font, exactly like the rest of your document. Then you have a regular header, a paper header, and those are the 4 lines that are on the left-hand side of the top of your document, directly underneath the header. So the header is here, and then the first cursor should put you on the line where your regular header should start. That should be your first and last name, EH 101 for our class. Miss Lloyd is my name, so it should be on the third line, and then the date should be in this format, 15, so day, month, and then year. You don't need commas if you set it up this way, only if the day, the month, and the day were to follow in that order. So we'll talk about double spacing in just a minute. This is just to kind of get us started. You're going to return down one time and then center align the text. Only the title is centered in your paper. Okay, so your creative title goes on that line. No fancy fonts, Times New Roman 12, no bold, no italics, no underlines, straight up Times New Roman 12-point font. Okay, one return should take you to the next line down, which is going to be the start of your essay. Now, it actually will take you to the left-hand side. I accidentally deleted a word here. It will take you to the left-hand side, which is where it automatically defers to in a document. And remember that the first sentence of every paragraph should be indented 1 tab space. So just push the tab button, and it should throw your paper over to a standard 0.5 indent. Okay, so your introductory paragraph is going to start there. We're still in Times New Roman 12. We never change out of that format for any of our essays. Times New Roman 12. Introductory paragraph. Remember that your strong introductions, according to our So What and 7 Common Moves, strong introductions are going to include your thesis statement, either explicitly stated or implied. You don't always have to spell it out, but your thesis for this particular essay would refer to your 3 objects that you chose and who or what or when that you're describing using those 3 objects. This gives your reader a roadmap. They're going to know right from the beginning what your essay is going to be about. It's going to be very clear. Your thesis can be your first sentence. It can be the last sentence. A lot of writers put it's the last sentence, kind of like that, the last thing that they'll see before they roll into your body paragraphs, your descriptive paragraphs. But it needs to be there in every essay. I'm going to be looking for that statement, that roadmap for your essay. When we looked at those introductions at the last screencast, If you'll remember, we looked at several where some of them were very vague and unclear about what you're going to be discussing, and you don't want to do that from the very beginning. It's kind of like a first impressions kind of thing. Strong introductions also include a gimmick. We talked about those, that mastering essay element sheet, your so what and the 7 common moves. Those are those things that you can include to help hook your reader from the very first paragraph. Make a strong first impression. One return after your introduction will start your first body paragraph. There are 3 body paragraphs total. Obviously, you have 3 objects, so that fits perfectly with our essay prompt. So body paragraph 1 or object 1 starts in the next paragraph. So first of your 3 objects, each body paragraph should have a topic sentence that introduces the object to your reader and connects it to that thesis, and then followed by the description that you've chosen to help relate that object to your overall topic, what it is that you're trying to help your readers gain a better picture of. So all that description that we've been working on in our journaling, those go into your body paragraphs 1, then 2 for object 2, and then 3 for object 3. We're going to talk more about conclusions on Monday in the screencast on Monday. However, for our purposes today of just setting up our format correctly, the conclusion is that final paragraph. It's going to tie everything together, leaving no loose ends. Remember, do not include any new information. That's a big no-no. You don't want to include anything new or introduce anything new that you haven't already discussed. You don't want to leave your reader with any questions. You want to tie everything together, no questions asked, okay? The conclusion should reference the thesis. Do not repeat it. Don't be redundant, but restate that thesis about those 3 objects and your person, your place, or your event in some fresh way. And also, remember to make use of one of those concluding gimmicks in your mastering element sheet or in seven common moves. If you want to go back and look at that screencast to kind of go out in style. That's the final impression that your reader has. Just like the introduction is that first impression, don't mess it up in the conclusion because we want to finish strong every time. Okay? All right, so let's talk about formatting the page itself. If you go to File and Page Setup, your normal default should be 1 inch all the way around. So it should already kind of default to that, but you may have to change it. It may be set at 0.5. So everything should be 1, top, bottom, left, and right. And there should be a little button over here if you've not saved it before that you can save that as your default, and it will automatically default to that every time you open a document. So I'm going to click OK because I know my page is set up correctly. Then let's talk about spacing. So the best way to do your spacing is to highlight your text and then go to the little button that has the up and down arrow and the 3 little hamburger lines and click double spacing. Now, that's going to throw a couple of things out of whack, so we have to fix just a couple of things. We have to delete the extra space in between the title and that header so that there's only 1 space here. And then we also have to delete the extra space here. Okay, so there should not be any giant gaps anywhere in your paper. It looks like there's a giant gap here, but it's only because you have short amount of text on this side, but it's really all evenly spaced. There's no extra spacing here. There's nothing in between, and there shouldn't be any big gaps in between your in between your paragraphs. Okay, so now I have a document. It's completely set up in MLA format. I've got my running header, I've got my working header, I've got my title, and then I have a shell for each one of my 5 paragraphs for my essay. So now that you have your document, you can begin drafting in the proper format, and just go ahead and get accustomed to using that format every time you're writing, even for rough drafts. Just because, unless you're just one of those kind of people who likes to kind of write it out on paper. And then that way, the editing is so much easier because it's already kind of set up the way that it's supposed to be for your essay. Okay, so you can also include a word count I think it's on tools. And then if you'll click on the word count, you can see a word count here. When you're finished with your paper, then you can get that word number to put at the bottom of each of your essays so that I can see about how many words that you're running with for your essay. All right, so we'll continue on one more screencast today on just a couple of things about organization and details. And then on Monday, we'll talk about conclusions.